A good vach. In the halachis of this week and the coming week of Ba'aleinu L'Teva, we are going to discuss the laws and customs relating to Purim. Due to the brief span of time that we have on our hands, we will only be covering a short summary of the halachis, and anyone who desires to further research the details of these laws can browse on the website shulchanochrav.com under the Purim section. As well, there is a summary and checklist in PDF format that's available for download on the website. Today's class we're going to discuss the laws of reading Megillah. Every Jew is obligated in the Megillah reading, including women and children, both boys and girls who have reached the age of chinuch, are to be educated to hear the Megillah once by night and once by day. The definition of reached the age of chinuch in this regard is when the child understands the holiday of Purim and the meaning behind the holiday. The obligation is to hear the Megillah twice, once by night and once by day. By night, one may hear the Megillah starting from nightfall, Tzeisak Echavim, up until Alois HaShachar. While by day, one may hear the Megillah starting from sunrise until sunset. If it is already after sunset, then one should read the Megillah without a bracha. Each person is to strive to hear the Megillah with a minyan, and not just any minyan, but the minyan of his local shul, as B'Reiv Am Hadas Melech. And therefore, one should refrain from making private minyanim for the Megillah reading. And rather, you should join the local community minyan that is taking place. As is brought in Pesachim, one is to bring his entire family, his wife, and his children to the minyan. Prior to the Megillah reading, it is forbidden to eat until one fulfills his obligation. This applies both by the night reading and the day reading. Thus, it ends up that since Tainus Esther is on Erev Purim, many end up fasting until after the Megillah reading, which is about practically an hour into the night. In a time of need that one is not feeling well, one feels very, very weak, then he may be lenient to have a snack, which is up to 57 grams of bread or mazenis, and an unlimited amount of beverage such as water, tea, coffee, and other liquids. This law applies equally to both men and women, and once again to both the night and the day reading. Women that are pregnant or nursing, or any woman that is going to have to wait a very long time for her husband or father to come home to read her the Megillah, then if she's feeling weak or sick, then she may be lenient to eat a snack prior to the Megillah reading, but she may not eat a meal. If eating this amount will not help, then she can eat an actual meal prior to hearing the Megillah. During the day reading, it is a minhag of Chassidim to fast until after hearing the Megillah and fulfilling the obligation, meaning that we don't even drink water. This is not from the letter of the law. As from the letter of the law, we only must refrain from eating foods and not drinking water and the like. It is our custom that each person that has the Megillah folds the Megillah prior to the reading into 3 parts. The Chabad custom is to only begin rolling it back up after the blessings have been recited after reading the Megillah. We recite 3 brachas, both by night and by day, prior to reading the Megillah, which is Al Mikra Megillah, Sha'asanisim, and Shechiyanim. After completing the reading, if there is a minyan, then we recite the bracha of Rav Yisriveinu. If a minyan is not present, meaning that there aren't 10 men that can join a minyan present, then we cannot recite the bracha of Rav Yisriveinu. And only the 3 before brachas are recited, and not the after bracha. By a woman's reading, meaning that only women are fulfilling the obligation, the custom is for them to say the blessing not Al Mikra Megillah, but Lishmoya Megillah. When reading Megillah for others, and if the other people know how to say the brachas, then if the reader already fulfilled his obligation, he should have them say the brachas before the Megillah reading, and if there's a minyan, also the bracha of after the Megillah reading. The actual reading of Megillah for others is not contingent on the minyan, and even with less than a minyan can be done, and you only need a minyan to say the after bracha. It is not required to stand during Megillah reading. This is with exception to the chazan who's reading the Megillah, that he must stand out of honor and respect for the congregation. It's absolutely forbidden to speak during the Megillah reading once the bracha has been recited. In the event that one missed a word from the Megillah reading, many poskim rule that one has not fulfilled his obligation, and he's obligated to hear every single word and even every single letter. In such a situation, one is to simply read that word that he missed in the Chumash and then quickly catch up with the Chazan by reading along in the Chumash or Kosher Megillah until he reaches the Chazan. For that reason, of course, every single person should make sure to look along in a Kosher Megillah or a Chumash or a printed Megillah just in case he misses a word. It does not help to read the missed word and then continue hearing the Chazan, as the Megillah must be read in the correct order, and therefore you have to read from the missed word and onwards until you reach the spot that the Chazan is up to, and then you stop reading and once again listen to the Chazan's reading. It's very important to focus on the reading and pay attention to what he is saying, as some place can question whether one whose mind is wandering and thinking of other matters during the reading, whether he has fulfilled his obligation. In the event that one does not know how to read the Megillah properly, nevertheless the Megillah may be read, as the tune of the reading does not negate the fulfillment of the obligation. Nevertheless, it should be read in the proper pronunciations, as certain wrong pronunciations can be deemed invalid for that word. And therefore, in a situation that one does not know how to read the Megillah and there's no one else available, but a kosher Megillah is available, then one person should read in a Chumash silently to the other person reading from the Megillah, and he'll read after him to make sure that the punctuation is correct. It is a custom of jury to stomp out the name of Haman when Haman is cited, when Haman is read in the Megillah. And being that a lot of times the noise continues into when the Chazan has continued reading, it is proper as Ron Achreinim for each person to read a few words after Haman is sounded, just in case he missed hearing one of them from the Chazan. It's a dispute amongst Paiskim if one is allowed to touch a kosher Megillah with his bare hands. Practically, the custom is to be lenient. However, it is proper to be stringent in this matter, to touch it with a cloth or to wash hands beforehand. This concludes a mere summary of the halachis of Megillah reading. For all the further details, please browse on our website under the section of Megillah reading.